fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel where today I'm actually going to go over a ship that I technically went over before, but it's been a long time. How long, you might ask? Well, if you remember this baby-faced ginger right here, this is actually over 3 years ago. USS Kelvin, was it the Saladin 2.0? Because at the time, when the Kelvin was first coming out, adjust that just a little bit because my head was cutting off and it bugs my OCD. I'm not editing this out. But we talked about when 4-star was coming out, was this the new Saladin? What were the pros, what were the cons of this ship? And at the time of me releasing this video, yes, I'm going to take the other one down so there's no real confusion. If you are curious about the difference between then and now, well, we can even make a video specifically for that. So let's talk about the Kelvin, which, let me start this off by saying, how did I get the Kelvin? Because for those who've been following my account, you know that I am actually negative rep, or I'm not enough rep. I've only got 10 million Federation rep. No, I did not fly my rep up and then back down. You can actually build any faction ship if you've accrued the blueprint. So for me, what I've been doing, for those who attend our streams and who are constantly in our content, you know that I've been grinding a lot in Soul. Well, this is the capital system that has a pretty easily accessible warp range for most players. And through me using multiple ships, I've just been grinding out the traders every day, which have a chance to drop Kelvin blueprints or Hydra blueprints or even Newton blueprints. So if you actually go into my ship's windows here, you'll see if I sort by survey, I almost have a free Hydra video coming soon, and even have been working towards a very long time away Newton. But still, think about the faction credits I've saved. So if you're out there thinking, hey, I'd love to get a ship, but I don't necessarily have the ability to do that, you actually might. Let's talk about early comparisons though. And let's talk about, should you even build the Kelvin? A big thing with the Kelvin is the same problem you have with the D4 in the game now, which is the game has been releasing new specialty ships, including this one, the USS Defiant, and including this one, the Talios, which are both interceptors. Now, I'm not going to go in and say, don't build a Kelvin. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, the way that I play the game has changed a lot. And the way that I recommend the game to a lot of people has changed a lot over the past year or so, where it's really focused on fun. I know, what a wild concept, but I think it should be set to where, like, if you think this is going to be fun for you, like you want to be a Federation guy or gal in this universe, then build a Kelvin. But there are some drawbacks that we need to talk about besides even the Defiant and the Talios. One of those is the firing pattern. Remember that premise I kind of talked about at the beginning of the video, where the thumbnail of my first video here was, is it the Saladin 2.0? Well, as we've learned over the recent years, it is not the Saladin, as the firing pattern is not as good. Now, the reason the Saladin's firing pattern was so great is its big gun fired round one, you got a big punch with it immediately. Saladin has that advantage to where even in the 40s, people will use it as a cheap base cracker because of how its weapons are set up. The Kelvin doesn't have that same advantage with its biggest weapons going off in round 2. Now, it does still have a energy weapon that it fires in every single round, but you're not loading it up with those front-facing Huron builds or, you know, those early round 1 smacks, right? It doesn't make it a bad ship. In fact, in terms of DPR, it scales pretty decently and is relatively strong. So it's not that it's a weak ship, it's just something that it limits your builds, whereas you can see even on the Pylum over there, that's why the Pylum is favored, because the Pylum is king. Like, everybody wants a Pylum in the 40s. That doesn't mean the Coronar or Newton are bad, but it's an interceptor, it's better at war, it's fast, and it has a fantastic firing pattern. The Kelvin has its own advantages though. It is one of your early 4-star ships, and being a 4-star faction ship, it gets research that your Defiant and your Talios do not, which does help it be a little bit stronger. You see, this is a fresh tier 1 Kelvin. And I'm honestly not taking it high, but that's because I've already got the Valdor, I've already got the Katinga, I've already got the Pylum, I'm working on a Coronar, and I've got ships for days. But it is still a viable ship, and let's talk about what makes it so good, so bad. So, in terms of overall cost for the Kelvin, right here, you see what its upgrade costs are. The path that I would recommend for the Kelvin is the same as any faction ship. Tier 5 is your minimum if you're an everyday player. Let's just say you're a pure free-to-play. You don't do PvP, but you want to be able to do your grind. You want to be able to do all these things that matter in the game, but you don't really care if you go out of your way to get, say, Tier 9 to be an ultimate PvPer. what I've done is included tier 5, tier 7, tier 9. My system that I've kind of adopted is straight just usage, pure PvE, but can be used for armadas and PvP. Tier 7 is where it's going to be a very good armada boat, generally speaking, and pretty good at PvP. And if you want it to be good at PvP, tier 9. Now, I don't usually take any of these 4 stars to tier 12 because they start requiring epics and the costs just get really, really high. However, if with these new primes that have come out, if you've gotten them, if you paid for them, and I guess technically if you got some of the free ones from the Dolomites in the video we just released the other day, then maybe you can make an argument to take it even higher. But generally speaking, for G4 and G5 ships, the tier 5, tier 7, and tier 9 method I think is what works for most players. Now, what are you going to get besides that, right? Like, what are the overall advantages? So one thing is going to be warp range. You see tier 1, mine is 105. Keep in mind that I have plus 20 warp range because of where I'm at in the game. This account's level 46. I've got 4 researches done that increase my overall warp range. But let's see a Valdor. See, this is a tier 5. I'll talk about minimum there. This is 160, so that means it'd be 140 just straight out of the dock if you had a tier 5. Same thing with the Kelvin. Warp range is the same for Kelvin, Katinga, and Valdor. Overall damage and speed, pretty nice. We talk about the interceptors being fast. You see it has an intercept speed or impulse speed of 139 compared to the Valdor of 126. And the Defiant is slightly faster at 141. Now, of course, the Talios, it's a lot faster, but that's also the Talios. We know it's kind of built for speed, if you will. What you can find with the Kelvin is a ship that is going to give you good speed, good overall PvP if you level it up, and can be useful for just about any purpose. It can PvE grind, it can grind in armadas for you, and it can participate in some of those PvP events if you want to take her out. The things that you need to note are the slight drawbacks when it comes to the firing pattern. Again, the kinetic weapons, which provide the biggest boost overall. See, it's min-max right there. Fire every couple of rounds, but they do fire a lot. So you actually can stack a lot of damage if you can get to round 2, round 4, etc. Take a look at the other kinetic. You'll see that it is the same pattern, same beefiness. And then here's your everyday energy weapon, which again, no slouch here. It's not a weak energy weapon, but it is weaker with less shots, but it does fire every single round. I think the Kelvin is a good ship. It is a kind of an archaic ship in the sense that it's been out for a long time, and just like the 20s did and the 30s have become, the 40s are starting to get in the same grind where the specialty ships become more important. Like, you don't want to skip the Defiant. You don't want to skip the Talios. And yet, if you go back to what it costs to actually run these ships, so the upgrade cost, put that back on the screen real quick. Look at the upgrade cost. Why am I bringing this up? Uncommon ship parts. Biggest bottleneck I talk about being in the game for 4-star and 5-star players. It is tremendous. In fact, if you were in that range, let everybody know how much of a bottleneck ship parts are, in case they think that I'm just overhyping it. If you are a G4 or G5 player watching this video, tell players how horrible the bottleneck is for ship parts. It's why we want those primes. It's why we focus on the research, why we scrap ships. It's for the parts, even though we do need uncommons as well. So when I talk about that, think of that, and then come over here to this screen. I'm gonna take this down and take a look at my Defiant and take a look at, I don't know why I turned the screen off. Take a look at the upgraded Defiant that I have. This is a tier 7 Defiant. Look at this. Commons. But if we actually go to our Talios, which I can actually show ship parts in tier 6, right here. Ship parts and uncommons. Pricey, man. You need them. Ship parts, commons, but regular uncommons. Over here, we've got just various different items that are commons or uncommons. It's going to start costing similar costs. And then let's talk about the pylum long term. Are you wanting to have a pylum long term? Well, cost in terms of ship parts significantly higher here for this one. You can see 8,000 just for that singular part, and this is 17,000 for this part. So cost much higher. If you want to go pylum, completely okay. Say, hey, I'm going Newton at 46. Get it. End of the day, one thing that I've been harping on a lot lately is if you're going to enjoy it, as in it makes your game better, you're happier, get you that Kelvin. It looks cool. It's a Federation ship, even though I've got Cardassian officers on it right now. And if it makes your gameplay better and you enjoy it, go for it. Hopefully this gives you the basic idea of what to do. In terms of crews, I'm going to give you 2 basic PvP crews. This one right here, if you don't have that, because it's the strike team, right here. Lorca, Killy, Honor Guard, Wharf. It's a classic PvP crew that actually works really well, especially with interceptors, because they have those big guns. Kinetics, love criticals, and hull breach making it even better. That's a real basic. In terms of grinding, though, your other crews are the same for basically every ship. I mean, you want to run an Armada? 5-6 Con, or Cisco Mile 6. I mean, doesn't really matter what boat you're on. That's kind of the generic crew you're going to run for everything. PvE grinding, you say? Oh, Pipe Moreau Chin, or Picard Beverly Cath, or Picard Beverly Talon, or Picard Beverly Chin, or Full Strange New Worlds, which is what? This stock right here. I mean, honestly, doesn't matter. This is what you would run for Strange New Worlds. The specific crews really are just the strike team or some PvP crews. Hopefully, this gives you everything you need. Congratulations to me on my new ship. I ground this baby out, completely free to play, doing nothing but hitting hostiles. I'm pretty happy about that. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. Live long and plunder. Stay safe for those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch me in my Discord if you have any other questions or want to know any other things about this ship or others. Appreciate y'all as always, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.